Hi, everyone. I'm Heben.
I'm Tracy.
And welcome to another round with Heben and Tracy. Yes. We're descending to the gates of the place that I don't believe in. Tracy!
What?
What's going on this show?
We're going to talk a little bit about OJ.
Ooh.
So American Crime Story has been retelling the story of the OJ trial, aka the trial of the century. I was thinking back to where I was at that time, like what was going on in my life, and I watched a lot of Comic View. And so I was really thinking about the way that comedy functioned for both black and white people during the trial. Got some thoughts, gonna share them with you.
We're also gonna spend a little time, really marinating in Clarence Thomas.
Yeah.
We're not talking about him enough, honestly.
We need to be making fun of him a lot more often.
And the reason we're talking about Clarence Thomas
is because Wendell Pierce is on the show today.
What?
Yay! Wendell Pierce, you may know as Bunk from The Wire, and Antoine Batiste from Treme is playing Clarence Thomas in the upcoming HBO movie Confirmation about the sexual harassment allegations that were brought against Clarence Thomas. And we're going to talk to him about that. Before we get into this episode, we wanted to remind everybody about our show this Thursday, April 14th in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Our guest is going to be an amazing musician from Flint, Michigan. His name is Tunde Olaniran. The show is sold out, but if you show up early, you might be able to get in. Doors open at 6:30, and on our Twitter page, Another Round, there's pinned information on the show if you need more. So follow us on Twitter.
We're excited to see you.
Yay! Heben, I have a question.
I'm listening.
Do you remember the OJ thing taking place at all?
What year did it happen?
94.
Okay, so I was not in America then.
Okay.
Also did not know English.
Okay.
So no.
Okay. I remember very distinctly, I was 13. I was at school. I was in the counselor's office finishing a makeup test because I probably pretended to be sick so I didn't have to go to school. And this little white kid named Doug Taylor bounces by, and he's just like got this really excited look on his face. Like he was like glowing. He was so happy. And he passes me, sees me sitting in the counselor's office, and he pokes his head and he's like, "He's innocent. He's innocent."
What?
Yeah. And I was like, yes.
This is like a movie. Extra. Read all about it.
He just running around saying
a white kid
innocent.
named Doug. What was his last name?
Taylor.
Doug Taylor.
I thought it was weird that he would know that because you are in school right now. How
that's
did you get the
true.
news?
This is cell phone.
Yeah, we didn't have cell phones. And so I tweeted to ask everybody else where they were. And a lot of people, because a lot of people that I follow and who follow me are around my age. So they were also in like high school, middle school, somewhere in elementary school. And they were like, I was in the gym watching it on TV with my entire class. So my teacher pulled out, you remember the little rolly carts that had the TV on them? So like you push
And then when you have a sub, you're like, oh yeah, I see the rolly cart with the
Time to
TV.
watch Jumanji for the 5th time this year. The idea of a bunch of children watching the OJ verdict is crazy, but that's how saturated like the entire, like every part of like our lives became with the OJ trial and the OJ verdict. And another thing that I remember was Comic View. Comic View was a half-hour stand-up comedy show. It used to come on BT. I used to love Comic View. I thought that it was absolutely hilarious. Looking back on it now, a lot of the sets didn't age very well, but that's all that anybody ever talked about on Comic View was OJ. Like as soon as the news broke, every comedian was talking about OJ. Black, white, they had a few white comics, but they were all talking about OJ so much that I remember there being, I couldn't find this on YouTube, there was like a 2-minute supercut of just like all the comics saying OJ over and over. OJ. And the last part I remember was a guy, this is going to sound terrible to say it out loud, but he was trying to say what he would have done if he were one of the victims, right? So he's like on the ground bleeding. He was like, I would have spelled out his name in blood. It ain't but 2 letters. Oh,
okay.
Yay. So like, I mean, just to give you a hint. Exactly. I went through this rabbit hole because I was trying to find some clips on YouTube. They're very, very hard to find, unfortunately, from that far back. But I was like, wow, this was like the like flavor of the day. You know, like it's all that anybody could talk about. And I was like, Why?
I got the sense that it was precipitated by the fact that CNN was like now a thing. Like the 24-hour news cycle hadn't quite existed. And then the 90s is when CNN was like, we're here. So you actually had coverage of it at any given moment.
Yeah, and it was broadcast almost 24/7 on so many news channels. So it was a very, very pervasive like thing in our lives then. And I want to backtrack a little bit to go back to when I was sitting in the counselor's room and Doug Taylor's like, he's innocent. And I'm like, yeah. It was very much a performative thing that I was doing even then.
Like, what do you mean?
I knew that it was my job as a Black person to publicly support O.J. Simpson.
Why?
Because this is right on like the tail end of the LA riots, Rodney King, and Black people had just been fucked over so often that the O.J. thing wasn't about O.J. It was about Black people finally winning versus a really, really corrupt justice system that's very clearly stacked against them, right?
Word.
One of the things that you can really, really see in the in American Crime Story is like all the people who were like very publicly supporting OJ, like people out with signs outside of the courthouse, you know, like Black people getting into like scuffles with white people because the Black people are supporting OJ and the white people were like, no, he's a murderer. I never really believed that he was innocent, but I just knew that like I had to like be with my folks on this. And like I was like, yeah, he's innocent, sure. And then like I go home and I turn on the TV and on Comic View, all the comics are basically like, y'all know he did that.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was such an interesting dichotomy, right? Because on the outside we're like, nah, you know, we gotta win this one for the people. But then like in our homes, like it's BET, you know, even though it's run by white people, Black people watch it. So it's kind of like in our own safe spaces is when we could have been like, okay, but seriously though, y'all know that OJ did it. I have a couple of clips. The first is a comedian, Steve Harvey.
What?
Yes, Steve Harvey did stand up once upon a time for quite a while.
So I'll tell you a couple things make me think he did it. First of all, like my daddy always say, stick to what you do. You a football player? Hell, play football. If you don't know how to commit murder, damn it, don't do it. Stay your ass at the house. What you out there trying killing people for if you ain't good at it? Plus his old ignorant ass done got evidence popping up everywhere. Somebody say they found a Heisman Trophy in the bushes. Because see, I am not of the thinking that the media got us going at, trying to turn it into a racial issue. This ain't about race. This about somebody that killed somebody else. And I don't care what color he is. If he killed somebody, he got to go. I don't give a damn if he do play football. And I ain't backing nobody just cause you Black. If you done killed somebody, blue, black, green, yellow, your ass got to go. I'm telling you that right now. And the media done got all of Black America in an uproar about it being a race issue. This ain't race. You understand me? OJ ain't been Black since he won that Heisman Trophy.
It seems to me like those spaces were the only spaces where we could publicly be like, yes, he did it. I think that humor becomes a weapon in the hands of people who feel helpless and voiceless, right? And so here was another case of, like, for whatever reason, another Black man being, like, persecuted in the white man's court, basically.
What were the things that made you feel like you couldn't talk about it in public? Like, what suggested that to you?
I don't know. I just remember feeling like even at 13 years old, like watching the tape of those officers beating Rodney King and then seeing the officers get off scot-free. And then watching the LA riots happen after that. And then watching and learning about like what caused the LA riots. You know, it was people like, it was police brutality basically. And I just remember like a sense of urgency during the OJ thing. It was like, okay, they can't screw us over again. Even though he's probably a double murderer and even though he probably should be in jail. You know, it was more about like making a statement and about like changing the tide, I guess. Like this time we're going to come out on top.
But I feel like people tend to do that for cases that are like where you have like the perfect victim. OJ's not like a sympathetic dude.
Yeah, well, there was also this idea that like a lot of Black people saw it as another Black man who was successful, had the nerve to date and marry a white woman and have kids with her, you know, and white people didn't like it. So white people were trying to frame him and set him up and take him down, which is not out of the realm of possibility for white people, you know?
Nothing is.
Nothing is out of the realm of possibility for white people. Most of the comics were like, yeah, he did it, as we just heard with Steve Harvey. But there were other comics who were like, I don't think he did it, which is crazy because he obviously did. But the arguing that he was innocent, I think, is where Black people try to fight back in an arena where they felt very, very helpless. You know, like we couldn't like go into a courtroom and be like, you treat us really badly, you should let him go. That's not a thing that they could do. I think that in moments where Black comedians got on stage and were like, he's innocent, he didn't do it, blah, blah, blah. That is an expression of like the anxieties that Black people felt at being so helpless in a case like this. It was the same helplessness that they felt during the Rodney King thing and during the Watts riots too. This next clip is a comedian that I actually really, really, really liked. I can't tell if it's coincidence that he is also a very loud country Black man.
Coincidence.
His name was Don D.C. Curry.
Oh, man.
Were the worst suits, the very, very worst suits.
And when I look at the O.J. case, I got to admit, the whole case got me emotionally disturbed. I really don't know what to think. When I first started watching the trial about a year ago, the first thing I saw was the opening statement of the prosecution. When Marshall Clark finished listing all the evidence they had against O.J., I said, O.J. did it. They may as well lock him up right now. I don't even know why they're going on with a trial, all that evidence. But I kept on watching till Smooth Johnny Cochran got up and started breaking it down. Johnny Cochran got a point. They got too much evidence against O.J. Nobody could have been that damn stupid. And even if it was, no one man, even if it was, could have been that stupid. And even if it was, no one man could have made all them mistakes. How could one man drop one bloody glove at the crime scene, take the matching bloody glove to his own house, drip blood all up and down Rockingham Boulevard, blood in the bushes, blood in the grass, left his hat on top of one of the bodies, blood on the fence, blood on the outside of the Bronco, blood inside the Bronco. He couldn't have done it. He got to his house, climbed over the wall and broke in his own estate for what he lived there. Ain't he got to keep it a gate? Knocked on the wall, woke Cato's lazy, ignorant, no telling half his ass up. O.J. couldn't have done all that. The O.J.'s couldn't have done all that stuff.
The OJs. Oh, this thing is so funny. So I'm watching all of these old clips of Black stand-up comedians during the OJ trial. And then I was like, wonder what white people were saying about this in their comedy, their arenas of comedy. Very different. Very, very different.
O.J. Simpson's lawyers have decided to skip hearings on DNA evidence and go right to trial. Asked why they did this, the lawyers replied, "We want to get O.J. acquitted as speedily as possible so he can get back to doing what he does best, killing people."
I noticed that all of white people's jokes was like, OJ's a murderer. OJ did it and he's still free. Like once they announced the verdict, the first thing that Norm Macdonald said on his weekend update was something like, it's official, double murder is now legal in the state of California.
Wow.
And he went really hard at OJ.
According to retailers, the most popular Halloween mask this year is O.J. Simpson. And the most popular Halloween greeting is, "I'll kill you and that guy who's bringing over your glasses, or treat."
Mad TV would do a lot of like sketches about what OJ's life is like after being acquitted. So like a blind date or something. And they basically like reenact like the crime sort of. Like he's like in a pair of gloves that's too small and, you know, just like really, really ridiculous. So the same way that that Black people used humor to express their anxieties, white people did the same thing with their humor. And their anxiety was, there's a big Black murderer on the loose.
Right.
And he's just out there. We're next.
So now we're going to have a conversation with Wendell Pierce. And if you don't know who he is, I'm really excited for you to meet him. He's an actor. He's probably most famous for his role as Detective Bunk on The Wire. You know how everyone feels about The Wire. He also played a New Orleans jazz musician, Antoine Baptiste, in Treme. And now he's portraying Justice Clarence Thomas in the new HBO film Confirmation. It's all about Thomas's nomination for Supreme Court Justice in 1991. And during these Senate judiciary hearings they had to try to confirm him, the law professor Anita Hill brought sexual harassment allegations against him. He was her former boss. So we have a lot of questions about what it's like to play such a controversial role.
To you, Heben.
Yeah.
To you, Tracy.
And to you, Mr. Wendell.
Cheers.
I'm so excited you're here.
Cheers.
This is very sweet bourbon.
Also, have you listened to Ethiopian jazz? I know you are into jazz.
Yes. Yes, I have. I love...
I don't know anything about jazz. I'm a horrible black person and a horrible Ethiopian person. But I'm very intrigued to talk to you about that. Okay, let's actually start the interview.
Okay, yes.
Speaking of bad
Mom.
black people, I just want to point out that earlier, Heben told me that I was a terrible black person because...
We don't have to get into this now. It's okay.
No, you see, that's why we have to talk about it. Because, it's confirmation. That's what it's about. We are not monolithic.
Oh my God.
So
related.
So who are you to say someone can or cannot, pull out their black card?
Heben told me I was a bad black person because... Why? Because I don't like spicy food.
No. You said I don't have any hot sauce in my home. It wasn't that you said I don't like spicy food, which is allowed.
Okay.
But like none?
But if I don't like spicy food,
that could
why
just
would I
be
keep
lazy
hot sauce?
now,
That's true.
I am very lazy. That's true.
You know
I'm
what?
a good lazy person.
Just realized I may not have hot sauce in my house.
Wow.
So are we both bad black people?
No, because
I wouldn't say...
I call and tell them to deliver it. Put some hot sauce in there.
I don't have that kind of clout yet. I don't have
You do like that.
It's called seamless.
To just bring me hot sauce?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
not just
See,
hot sauce.
Well, hold on. So if you call in places that don't have hot sauce to throw in the bag and deliver to your house, now you lost your black card. Because that means
That's
you're not
real.
calling
That's real.
the $2 chicken wing place.
They have hot sauce.
They have hot sauce.
They come correct.
That's true.
Because the one thing I learned when I came to New York and I got my New York, Brooklyn black card, it's like, you got duck sauce and some hot sauce. Put it in the bag.
Put it on everything.
From
love
New Orleans,
that.
I never knew what duck sauce was until I got here.
So you were born and raised in New Orleans.
Yes, I love New Orleans. New Orleans is the northernmost Caribbean city, the last Bohemia, the most...
Ooh, that's an interesting sentence.
It's
The
very-
northernmost.
Caribbean city.
Absolutely. Think
Yeah,
about it. When you
same
go to
here.
New Orleans, you
So have you been to
recognize
the
it.
Caribbean?
Yes, I have, quite often. And
What do
that's
you-
why I say it.
What is your identity like as a New Orleans?
Lenient.
Struggling with the noun.
My identity is someone that comes from a place that absolutely celebrates culture. We live our culture more than most places I know. So, we sing when we talk, hey, Heben, what's going on, baby?
I
Tracy,
love
where you
it.
going, baby? How you doing? Well, I would call my mother and say, how's your day? She would say, oh, I cooked a big pot of red beans. And I'm gonna do some etouffee later. We talk about our
Yes.
food,
Yes.
and just steeped in culture, and a living culture too. When you see a second line, understand that was poor black folks who pooled their resources to bring economic development into their neighborhood. So when you see the band, look behind the parade. The people selling food, the people selling drinks, all of that. That's how we brought and bring to this day commerce into the neighborhood. It came out of a time when black folks were redlined. So, we pool your resources in a social aid and pleasure club. We understand the pleasure part. The social aid part was there. So, your mama takes sick, we'll take care of her. Your daddy dies, we're going to send him off nice. We'll get a burial plot. And that's the genesis of the jazz parade.
So you describing New Orleans as the northernmost Caribbean city, you said?
I
Yes.
went for the first time a few months ago, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, did
Yeah.
you have a good time? I hope
did,
you did. Yeah.
yes.
Talk to me about the similarities.
If you look at our cuisine even, the Spanish influence, the French influence, obviously, with the sauces and all, the Spanish influence. Jambalaya ain't nothing but Creole paella, right? You know, when you think about it. So you see the influence, the sausages and stuff, even coming from the Germans that were there. But you take out the African influence, you wouldn't recognize Louisiana and Creole Cajun cuisine. The architecture and all, the porch, the idea of that's how you cool a house, is actually having a porch.
Yes, that's
And
one thing that I
the culture
really
of sitting
miss
out
about
on the
New York.
porch, you know, is African aesthetic.
Absolutely.
There
Yeah.
are not enough porches in this
I
city.
can identify an Ethiopian in the wild because they be strolling, taking their time. It's very porch sitting situation.
So, but you know, it's like I said, it's all very practical and tangible. You know, you go to Louisiana and New Orleans in the heat of the summer,
Ooh,
you
it is
understand. You see our second lines. Why do we have umbrellas in the handkerchief? It came from the heat.
It's hot.
Yeah, so culture is very practical and stuff. So that connection is there, and you see that in the Caribbean. It's a crossroads of European, African, Native American, or indigenous people. You know, the Homa Indians and all. The Mardi Gras Indians, a black grassroots masking tradition, honors those Indians who kept runaway slaves, you know, who hid them out from their bounty hunters and all. You know, so the revolution of Haiti made New Orleans a sister city because you had in Tremé, right next to the French Quarter, free people of color for 40 years before our Civil War. So the French Quarter was the pied-à-terre of your plantation owners on the river. They would come down. They got their house in the quarter, right, in the French quarters. And they only had room for several of their slaves. And so you might be able to stay at the house, but then the footman, okay, I'll let you, Wendell, I'll let you go and stay with them free Negroes over there in Tremé, but you better be back in the morning, right? Or we're going to have a bounty out on it, right?
Dang.
And now you have, imagine, captured Africans, enslaved, sitting with brothers and sisters talking about, man, you can do this. We had a cat named Toussaint who took care of the business, right? And so they spawned all these insurrections in Louisiana. With all of that in mind, you think of the Caribbean. You think of the Maroons, Nanny Maroon in Jamaica. You think of Toussaint Louverture in Haiti, you know. And I think of those Haitians that came to New Orleans who literally was feeding fuel to the fire. So on Sunday in Congo Square, you had these Africans captured. They were released out of their chains in Congo Square on Sundays at 3 o'clock, and they were allowed to drum and dance the bambula, right? Then right out of the French Quarter, you hear these European captors' music, right? Right? Literally.
Yes.
And so they said, we're going to comment on our captors. Jazz. Literally the birthplace of jazz. We can go and stand on it right now at Congo Square in New Orleans. That's how it came about. But what was also happening in Congo Square, where they were bartering and trading and exchanging ideas with these free people of color. 1848 streetcar boycott in New Orleans they tried to do. Plessy versus Ferguson came out of, right? I can take you to my performing arts high school, New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, is at the spot where Plessy boarded the train.
Wow.
Right? So all of that insurrection, all the seeds that started the modern day civil rights movement are right there, tangible. So that's very much a part of our history in New Orleans that I'm sure you heard nothing about on your trip 2 months ago. Because we also, as in all of America, have revisionist history, and it's difficult for them people to deal with it. But in New Orleans, it's all right there.
I'm very
My
dazzled
mind is
by,
blown right now.
Yeah, I'm so dazzled
I feel like I learned
by
so much
how
in like 15 seconds.
New Orleans history, you know, like I couldn't tell you like half of that history of Louisville, where I'm from.
Question, did you watch the Beyonce video for Formation?
I haven't seen it yet. I heard about it.
What?
Wait, first of all, Okay.
I got the sense that people felt a way when, so it very deeply invokes Katrina. And
I think I saw a video where she's on the police car and it goes down in the water and all of that, and she's dancing.
She's giving you like Ophelia mixed with Black Panther.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw that.
Okay.
And I thought that was a pretty
I thought it was
bold
wonderful.
move for Beyonce.
A lot of people thought
I
that
think
she was.
she's
I think it was very bold. And first of all, I don't think it's bold.
well. It's bold
It's
for
just
her.
black. That's all it is.
It's
bold for her.
Yeah.
It's bold for her. But here's the other thing. We have a great legacy of people who are entertainers like herself who step out.
Yeah.
Whether it's Eartha Kitt, Sammy Davis Jr., or even Michael Jackson. You know?
Nina Simone.
Nina Simone was the epitome of it. Harry Belafonte, Ozzie Davis, they have handed us a great legacy. If she can't step out now, after acquiring a certain level of wealth
Right.
and prosperity, the level of wealth she and her husband are at should take care of the family
Right.
for a couple of generations. Now,
Yes.
and if you
Y'all be
haven't
all right.
understood that, you need to get other financial planners. Right? That it should give you the freedom to say
Right.
all the stuff that she wants to. She understands that that's going to be the reaction.
Yeah. Oh, she's so poised about like to be
Yes.
clear.
Oh, and
It's like a
the L
sentence she
interview,
uses,
right?
Yeah.
Did you see?
She hasn't given an interview in like actually maybe a year.
Yeah. So there were screenshots of her, I guess it's an L interview that she did where she talks very openly about formation. And she was like, listen, I love the police. I support them 100%. And she was like, but to be clear, because she used this phrase, she was like, to be
That's
clear.
how you know you're about to get it.
Yeah.
To be
that's
clear.
That's the classy version of first of all.
Yes.
I just think it's funny how.
As a brother, I've been on the end of a lot of those.
you know.
Right. But she was like, I'm definitely against police brutality and injustice. And anybody who has a problem with my video had several problems before me and before this video. I was like, you better go out, Beyonce.
I'm really, really impressed watching her like kind of political awakening.
I am too. I love to watch it. I really, really love to watch it because it's a thing that she ostensibly doesn't have to do. You know, you can just like get on stage.
But you know something? It's a personal decision.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
It's a personal decision. It's inevitable because you can't bring a child into this world. As the old man who has no child. And one of the things I'll confess to is one of the reasons I don't have children. It's difficult. It's difficult for me to see my child in this world with some of the things that are happening in this world. I feel so afraid of bringing a child into this world. My mother would always tell me, you can't allow all the negative to stop you like that.
Yeah.
I said, but once you have a child, you are on this mission of like, oh, I have to clean up all of this because it would be so unfair to my child to allow things to continue on as they are without doing something to change it.
Yeah, that's an anxiety I feel too as my my childbearing years are escaping me. I don't have any children either. But it's just so scary to know that like you as a parent you can do everything right, quote unquote, and still lose your child to police violence and still lose your child to just like all of these like just things that you cannot control because it's just a toxic society.
But you can't allow that to hem you up. As we used to say,
as we still say in some parts of the world.
Yeah. I'm of an age that you still say solid. Do y'all young kids still say solid? Because I say solid.
I would pause at jive turkey though.
Yeah.
That's I would pause there.
I submit that we never say jive turkey.
Wait, really?
That is a creation of somebody who's trying to appropriate the culture. I don't think you could ever find a brother who said jive turkey if it wasn't written in a Hollywood script.
So people never say like jive turkey like
I definitely only associate
somebody would say, man,
like,
you jive.
Right.
But not jive time turkey
jive
like what
turkey.
you call it used to say.
I'm sure the first actor who said it in some B movie or some B
Yeah,
TV
that's what
series
I
said,
associate it with.
I see jive. Jive. I trained at Juilliard like Wendell Pierce, but I understand jive. The turkey part. Well, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't understand that. We don't say that, but I'll make it. I'll make it my own.
It sounds like a thing
and
they
say
would
jive
say.
turkey.
I slay. Okay, ladies, now let's get information. You know you that bitch when you cause all this conversation. Always stay gracious. Best revenge is your paper.
So if we have time, I definitely want to talk to you about Juilliard. But first, let's talk about Confirmation, this new movie that you're in.
So it's all about the 1991 hearings between Clarence Thomas, who is now a Supreme Court justice, and the allegations of sexual harassment brought against him by Professor Anita Hill. You play Clarence Thomas.
Yes.
You seem like a good dude. Clarence Thomas does not. What was it like preparing to play basically a slime ball?
A slime
First of
ball.
all, as an actor, you have to try to come to a role as open as possible. I will concede that I have preconceived notions.
What were those?
Which you've so deftly expressed about the justice. And I had an epiphany after reading his autobiography, comparing it to my memoir about my family. And what surprised me was not how little we had in common, but how much we had in common. You will be surprised at how Black, Southern Clarence Thomas and his family is. He has come 5 generations of an African-American family in the South from slavery through the violence of Jim Crow, understanding that we're going to put a premium on education and faith and love of family to make sure that we embolden ourselves and protect ourselves from those who don't have our best interest at heart. My grandfather used to say, Kant died 3 days before the creation of the world. Don't ever tell me you can't do anything. His grandfather, who is his hero, said to him, Kant is already dead. I helped to bury him. Don't ever tell me you can't do anything. And I sat here as a Black man from the South, 5 generations Catholic. I'm Catholic too. And it opened up a window to how to play the man. I realized that for me to portray him in this movie, it wasn't a political journey. It was a personal journey that everyone could understand. A person at the pinnacle of their career, about to ascend to the highest summit, and an event of their past comes back to haunt them and may deny them that opportunity. And he, in the confirmation hearing, says, I deny all of these allegations, but if there is one thing I can say, if there's anything I did or said to Anita Hill or any other woman that was offensive, I apologize sincerely. And that opened up a window to me to say that he was going through some self-reflection. Now, I desire to meet him because there's so much we had in common. And I confess that I came to the role with preconceived notions. And I confess that, and I mean, it's an open secret that we're politically opposite. You know? So I actually want to, I don't think I'll ever bring it up with him if we meet, you know? But where's that nexus where we separated?
Yeah,
And it also points out once again this complete demonstration of we are not a monolithic people when it comes to African Americans and their political and cultural views and all of that. That's why I said had to protect Tracy when you tried to take her Black card away from her.
Thank you.
Okay, chill, everyone.
So, as strange as it sounds, he has to be allowed to keep his little Black card. It may have expired. He may not have.
He might have to reapply at
just
this
looked at me
point.
like, your interview is over. Step out.
He might have to reapply for the Black card at this point.
And here's the other thing. As an actor, I'm a student of human behavior. So I chose to approach it from that. And all of that separates it from the politics. And then it allows you to get a deeper understanding of the humanity that he has, and then make your decision to hate him with more information.
So I actually want to talk about human behavior a little bit. Do you think men can identify harassment?
There are those who can, and those who cannot. But those men who cannot, it does not absolve them.
Absolutely not.
That's what we understand. And see, that's the role of art. It's the public conversation. The role of art, what thoughts are to the individual, art is to the community as a whole. It's the place where we reflect on who we are, where we've failed, where we've triumphed, who we want to be, who we want to become, declare and figure out what our values are, and then act on them. That's the role of art for the community as a whole, going back from when we sat around a fire and a griot told us, listen, the public discourse that happened with this painful event is why we made the movie in the first place. First, for a generation that knows nothing about it. So we are always vigilant as we lift the veil and know that we have to be vigilant about issues of gender equality and sexual harassment and racism. It's an ongoing thing, you know? This is my lovely, really left liberal friends always, Wendell, that means like racism will never go away. No, it will not, you know? No, it won't. And we have to stay on it, you know?
Yeah.
There will always be someone who's ready to sexually Yes, yes. We have to be vigilant. It's going to get better, and it has gotten better, but it's an ugly part of human nature that we have to, we have to always identify. So I know for a fact there are men who are aware of it and men who aren't.
Clarence Thomas is a pretty notoriously silent fellow. And there's actually not that many lines of dialogue you have in the film.
Yeah.
How do you play someone or even get to know someone as a character when they'd have so little lines?
There are two things. We know him as a public figure. We're pretty aware of him as a public figure.
Yes.
But as a personal figure, he's very much the enigma.
Yes.
So that's where I, as an actor who subscribes to the idea that you're a student of human behavior, what we do is closer to psychology.
Is that what you learn at Juilliard?
Yes. So you study him as a psychologist would try to study someone who, how would they think? Why did that behavior come about? Why do you? The thing I learned about him not speaking on the bench actually informed me because most justices, I spoke to a justice who I know, who is
Can we name the justice?
No, we can't.
Interesting. Go on.
And that justice explained to me that what is perceived as him not saying anything speaks to something else, contrary to what people believe, not his uninvolvement. You get 2 rounds in deliberation when you go back, right? You go 2 rounds. You go around the table according to seniority. And a lot of justices take the oral argument as an opportunity to ask questions so they would be able to kind of put their opinion out there a little bit more.
Interesting.
Right?
These are like the between the lines of
right?
Supreme Court decisions.
The curiosity of a justice not taking that opportunity says more about, informed me, or the choice that I made, says more about his deferment to Scalia as you be the voice of the conservative viewpoint, which says a lot to me about how Black conservatives deal with their position in the right wing. They play their roles, this is only my opinion, because the one thing the conservatives have been clear about with Black conservatives is if I promise you this is your pathway, they deliver. What most people don't remember is Clarence Thomas was only a judge for less than a year.
Yeah, what I was reading was basically like he's wildly unqualified.
Yeah.
He was only a justice. Well, actually, you don't have to be a justice, but it was an unlikely path.
Unorthodox.
Right? It was very unorthodox, but you could tell that it was a political position that they had already envisioned and strategized about long before Thurgood Marshall had decided to retire. The thing that, now it may sound like I found this affinity and love of Justice Thomas, and I did. I just, not a love, I should say, a understanding of a broadened viewpoint of who he was. But when I ran up against a brick wall that reminded me of some of the preconceived notions that I had. Some of those men around him, black men, Jay Parker, Armstrong Williams, were paid lobbyists for the apartheid government of South Africa in the 80s.
Wow. What?
Black men who were paid by the apartheid government here to stop the divestiture movement in America. And so all I could think about was Stephen and Django Unchained. And so, it's that sort of thing that that allowed me to approach the role and also informed me on how to play the role.
The last thing that we love to do with our guests is to do a rapid fire question segment that we call Pew Pew Pew. These are finger guns and
my rapid fire before we get to that is Kerry Washington was really wonderful in this.
She was.
And while we didn't have anything to do together, I watched her testimony prior to me walking on the set, and I asked the director not to introduce me to anyone. I walked onto the set in direct response to her testimony before I met anyone. So even though we didn't have a scene together, she informed everything that I did. It was great to work with her.
She got Anita down so good, like her cadence, the way that she spoke.
Yeah.
I was really, really blown away.
Shout out
and
to
she
Carrie.
She was a great producer too. She did her research.
So we're gonna do super, maybe like 2 or 3 really, really quick, very random questions. What is your favorite cartoon? If you currently have one. If not currently, what was your favorite cartoon? Yeah, cartoons are for everybody. Some judgment in your voice.
No. I am not a religious man, but what comes to mind is that Bible verse. When I was a child, I thought like a child. I read like a child. But when I became a man, I gave up childish things.
Right.
No. She's just like,
all right,
you just lost all your credit with me. You don't look at no cartoons.
Doing so well.
I was a Johnny Quest fan. Johnny Quest.
So the president of the United States calls you and says, Wendell, we have to get rid of one ice cream flavor, eradicate it from the entire surface of the earth. You get to pick what it is.
Obama needs to get his priorities straight, first of all.
I think he's got them together. Ice cream is very, very important to the state of our union.
Yeah, that's what I'd be like, what the hell are you doing?
Obama's like, hey, I'm about to be out of here. Listen. Right. But what ice cream flavor do you pick to get rid of it forever?
That mint thing, mint and chocolate.
Mint chocolate chip?
Yes. Ban.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, let me posit this.
Or actually, that or toffee.
Okay, there you go.
Make up your mind. Are you
there
coffee? Are you taffy?
What are you doing?
It's just like, are you caramel?
Face you made when you said toffee, though. Pure disgust.
What happened is like, I thought this was coffee, but it's not coffee.
Right.
Oh, I thought this was going to be caramel, but it's not caramel.
It's also not.
It's
like weird and
toffee.
chewy and crunchy at the same time.
It's like toffee.
God. Yeah.
What he should do is declare that all ice cream should be zabayon.
What is that?
I'm not familiar.
It's basically the Italian version of eggnog ice cream.
Oh, no. That doesn't sound great.
No, it sounds wonderful.
It's slamming.
I
You just
love
never
me
had
eggnog.
any. I may be saying it wrong, too. If you say
I
it
feel
confidently,
like you're not.
zabayon.
Yeah. I trusted you.
I
You said it
believed
that
you.
way.
All right, rapid fire. Let's go.
Name for us an unpopular opinion that you have. Heaven doesn't like Oreos. I don't like Cinnabons or cinnamon rolls.
I have a couple.
Okay. Save
You look
space.
like you're about to confess.
Yeah, it really is really good. For New Orleanian fans
Okay.
and for Louisiana fans, I hate LSU football.
Oh.
I hate LSU football. I hate all college football.
For that. Oh.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, I hate college football.
Why?
Yeah, slavery.
Oh.
Very clear.
Fair,
very
fair.
Fair enough.
Fair answer.
The other is, I hate rap concerts
Interesting. Tell me more.
because they make you do the work. So when I say hip hop, and then I say, and then, if I
You
see
gotta put
another,
your hands in the air and wave them like you don't
no,
care.
I don't mind that. I'll do that.
Oh.
I'm talking about when I
When
came
they
to
put
hear
the
you
mic
rap,
to
and
the
you
crowd.
point the mic to the crowd.
I mean, I look at that as like call and response, which is, of course, an African tradition that has followed
yeah.
us through
All right,
the
Tracy.
centuries.
But when it's all response,
Not
and
enough call.
seldom call, it's like when I say, And then you say, I can't even see. I don't know rap lyrics to this day because I've been always like, wait, you say it so I can learn it. You know, it's like I was gonna hip hop.
And then they just point the microphone
Yeah,
out.
so it's a drag. Yeah.
Okay.
So
It is a little bit lazy.
It makes me feel
know
like
what?
I'm on stage with
We
my
won't
face.
linger on this.
Okay.
Where can the people find your work? Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you very much. You can find my work April 16th on HBO, the premiere of Confirmation. And so I'm very proud to call HBO my home and my family. And I'm very proud of this film. A lot of people are going to watch it and learn something and be moved.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Do you have like a social media thing you're on?
Oh, yeah. At Wendell Pierce. Thank you. And I have a wonderful book, memoir about New Orleans and my family and my life called A Wind in the Reeds, which just won the Christopher Award in literature.
Ooh,
congrats.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Please come back.
Yes.
I will. I
Like,
look
that
forward
was
to
so
it.
much
Talk
to
about.
learn.
There's, I had a great time. This has been one of the most wonderful interviews I've ever had in my life.
Oh
Not
my
just
God.
in my life.
It's the bourbon. It's the
then,
bourbon.
And now the next time I come, I will bring the bourbon.
So we'll see you next week.
Tracy.
What?
It's time to buy some rounds.
Oh my God, can I go first?
Sure.
Okay, I would like to buy a round for a YouTube video series, sort of.
Okay, I'm
It's
listening.
called Guy on a Buffalo.
I'm
Are you
listening.
familiar?
I
Okay.
am not.
So, Guy on a Buffalo is basically this music group called the Possum Posse.
I'm in.
Yay!
I'll allow it.
So, they made a bunch of songs based on some clips from a very, very old show called Buffalo Rider, which is just like a show about a man who rides a buffalo throughout the West, and he's like fighting bad guys, and it sounds like a really bad show.
Yeah, so like 70s?
1978, Buffalo
Nice.
Rider. So the summary of the movie is: in the 1800s, Jake Jones finds a buffalo about to be eaten by a coyote. He rescues the buffalo and raises it. He names him Samson. Jones decides to break the buffalo and saddle him, right? So the Possum Posse took like bits.
Wait, I'm sorry. He's trying to put a saddle on a buffalo?
Yeah, he domesticated the buffalo and he rides the buffalo instead of a horse.
I feel like, okay, that's his dream, okay.
Yeah. So he was living his dream, doing everything that he needed to do. So the Possum Posse takes like 4 clips, like 4 like maybe 2 or 3 minute clips, and they wrote a song describing what's going on in the video. And it's just really, really funny to me. I'm going to play a little bit from the first episode, which is entitled Bears, Indians, and Such.
Wait, so it's like a thing you should watch or just listen to? It's songs?
It's better if you can watch it while you listen. But I mean, I honestly like put the songs on my iTunes just so I can listen to the songs because I think they're so funny. Okay, so here's a little bit.
One day the guy on the buffalo was cruising around through the plains, seen a bear, and he thought to himself, oh man, I gotta get away from the bear.
So they're basically just narrating what's happening in the video.
Oh no, I better just turn around and chase him back. 'Cause guess
What am I watching?
I'm on a buffalo.
So this man truly has a saddle on this buffalo. There's a bear involved and he's running away from it. It's just like your typical Western.
Right, but he's riding a buffalo.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Exactly. So the reason that I think it's so funny is because the footage is so like ridiculous, and them just narrating what's happening in the footage to me is really, really funny. I knew that I was taking a gamble on buying around for something that's as hard to describe as Guy on a Buffalo, but we're gonna put it in the newsletter. We'll put all 4 episodes in the newsletter. It's really, really funny. One day, the guy on the buffalo went to town for some more revenge. It's just great. What? You gotta watch it to know who he's getting revenge
Tracy, I
on.
just watched it. I
You
still don't get it.
no. The other, you have to like watch all of it though.
So a round for Guy on a Buffalo.
Shout out to Guy on a Buffalo and the Possum Posse. Who are you buying around for?
Well, mine's a little more known than Guy on a Buffalo.
I will allow it.
I would like to buy a round for Allen Iverson. who is being inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame.
Yes, I've heard of this guy.
I used to watch sports a lot. There's a way that white America cannot deal with the fact that they love watching black men play sports, but then also expect them to not be like aggressive as a sports player.
Right.
Or like express anything other than exactly how they think they should be behaving.
They have terrible sportsmanship.
Right. Shit like that. So I remember it happened with like Marshawn Lynch from the Seattle Seahawks.
You know why I'm here.
You know why I'm here. It happened with Cam Newton during the Super Bowl, and that was like a huge part of Allen Iverson's impact on basketball, I think. I mean, has Kanye taught America nothing? There's just this way people are like, how dare this black man be so bold and say what he means and like be annoyed at dumb questions reporters ask him. Like, how dare you? You should take it all in stride. Right. How dare this person be super aggressive after they just did something that probably requires a million amounts of like adrenaline and like tackling a human is an aggressive game. We like fake kill people. It's like, oh, I could take you out, but only a little bit.
Right.
So I feel like a big part of his legacy is like, because he was the NBA dude who started doing like wearing like the clothes he'd wear normally to an NBA conference or like a press conference thing that they make them do.
The do-rag.
The do-rags.
The do-rags.
He'd have his mom braid his hair on the sidelines. There's this iconic picture of his mom cornrowing his hair. But in response to that, peak. In response to that, the NBA was like, they made all these rules about what you have to look like at press conferences and shit. Because they're like, oh, this sullies the name of the game, blah, blah, blah.
It's like when nightclubs have this ridiculous dress code that basically says, don't dress like a nigga.
Yes, exactly. That's almost the explicit text, not even subtext.
Right.
But I mean, he's definitely not like a person without his own shit. It's not like he's just an incredible angel of a human.
Right.
But our friend of the show, Van Newkirk, actually wrote about him in The Atlantic, and there's a line in his piece that I really like, which is, he's not a role model, but a person who represented a kind of freedom to be that we may never have. It feels to me like he's one of the things that Laverne Cox calls like as a possibility model. Like, don't call me a role model. And he certainly is not one.
Yeah.
But he's definitely a possibility model.
Ooh, I like the idea of possibility model.
Yeah. And the way he just so boldly declared that he can be himself in all the spaces that he's in.
Yes.
Which I learned from you, Tracy. Like, it's incredible. I was watching this documentary, which I recommend, the Showtime documentary called Iverson, which like kind of goes through all of this, like the media reaction to him, how a lot of people thought he'd never be inducted to the NBA Hall of Fame because just white America wasn't having him. But I honestly, like, out here in your do-rag and your mom out here cornrowing your shit in the middle of a game.
So black.
Like, I love the boldness. He had the nerve to double cross Michael Jordan in an iconic moment in history. And people are like, how dare he? Or like just even
tell Jordan get his game up.
Listen, see me.
Right.
See me. So if you want to learn more about him or just get a better sense of why he's an important figure for American culture, you should watch this documentary. It's called Iverson on Showtime.
Also, for good measure, you should go back and watch his practice rant because it was so good. Do you remember that?
I do. That documentary actually puts that in really important perspective.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm going to check this out this weekend.
Yeah.
We just talking about the game. We talking about practice. What we talking about? Practice?
Yeah, there's this infamous moment where he says practice like 50 times in a 2-minute stretch. But I really think he's one of those cultural figures that if you don't have the proper like Black cultural writers to write about them, you might not remember how it happened.
Right, right.
So shout out to Van Newkirk for writing about him, but also shout out to Allen Iverson for being.
We did it again.
Hey.
We need to have Mr. Pierce take us to New Orleans.
I'm so excited.
It's
happening. I'm willing it into the universe.
So thanks to Mr. Wendell Pierce for coming through. Confirmation airs on HBO on April 16th. You should watch it. It was a very good movie.
As always, shout out to the Pod Squad.
Pod Squad.
Burr, burr, burr.
Hey.
I'm coming on up in the world.
Better. Somebody's been
bit.
Practicing. This episode was produced by Eleanor Kagan with editorial oversight from Jenna Weiss-Berman and production help from Julia Furlan and Meg Kramer. Thank you to Paul Ruiz at Argo Studios. Yay, Paul. Woo. Woo! Thank you to our in-house musicians, Miss Jean Gray. You can follow her on Twitter at Jean Greasy. And Don Will of the Almighty Tanya Morgan. You can follow him on Twitter at Don Will. Thank you to the, I had a new one from the list. Sufferer of all bullshit.
Yeah, that is me. Shout out to the Tracy.
Yay! Woo!
Where I learned how to suffer fools.
The newsletter is so poppin'. Y'all gotta get on the newsletter.
There's an Oprah corner. Mm-hmm. Tracy's got her animal gifts. Mm-hmm. Frequently, we have dog vines.
Very, very often.
Honestly, what more could you want?
Sometimes there are pictures of Heben like collapse at her desk because she just can't. That's my favorite part of the newsletter.
Oh, man. The amount that happens is a lot.
So if you're not subscribed to the newsletter yet, it's okay. There's still time to get your life right. Go to BuzzFeed.com/anotherround/newsletter to sign up and get more goodness in your inbox.
Also, check out other BuzzFeed podcasts like Internet Explorer and The Tell Show.
Yay.
Fun stuff. You can hit us on the buzz at Twitter and Facebook /anotherround. Email us anotherround@buzzfeed.com. Mm-hmm. And rate us on iTunes and nominate us for a Nobel Peace Prize. Thank you.
Also, drink some water, take your meds, call your mom, floss your teeth. Listen, I know I say this nearly every show, but I'm having so much fun with this new floss that I got.
I'm really happy for you. I can see it brings so much joy to your life.
So good.
I would also add,
so
I know I already bought a round for robes, but honestly, just invest in some lounge wear. Like not that like shitty t-shirt you got from that marathon you ran.
Right.
And
that's
some
what I
shorts.
tend to sleep in.
No, get you a fancy robe. Somewhere you're just lounging. In this specific clothing made for you to lounge in.
Right. A lounge uniform, perhaps.
Yes,
how do you feel about short robes? Like, does length matter to you? Short
I have a short robe.
Yeah.
I prefer a short, honestly.
Give a little leg and then take it right back.
Precisely.
Paul, hi. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
You have a great
Sounds
podcast voice.
I started on the radio.
What?
Yeah. It's 20 minutes after the hour. This is Wendell Pierce on the Music
Oh my
FM.
God! That was amazing.
WYLD, the Music FM. New Orleans.